Hey guys, it's Kat and I'm back today to put some makeup on my face. Firstly, because I need to get ready for the day. It's a nice sunny day today. It's actually going to be 18 degrees Celsius, which is lovely for an early spring day. And I'm sort of looking to do something sort of fresh, maybe a little bit dewy, something minimal on the eye and a bright lip. And especially because I put on a lip stain last night to go out for dinner. 2 showers later, it is still on there. So I can't really wear a nude gloss. Well, I can, but I want to do something a little bit punchy and a little bit vibrant and fun. So I thought today is the perfect day to play with some Flower Beauty makeup. Now I have a few products in here. They all fit the bill of the look I'm currently going for. I'm going to have to supplement in some other products, probably from my Project Pan, because I don't have a full face here. But I've been meaning to talk about Flower Beauty on camera for a while, and I thought today's the day I'm going to play with some stuff. So I've got the Light Illusion foundation. This is in the shade Ivory L2, which is quite light, but actually works really well for me in winter anyway. I haven't used it in spring, but spring has just sprung, so I've still got winter colouring. I've also got an eyeshadow quad. It's not really something I normally go for, but when I was looking at the eyeshadow quads, I was like, I wanted to play with the formula. I want something that's sort of good for a handbag or makeup bag, travel bag. And there was like a sort of brown basic toned one, but I felt like I had so many like that I wanted to play with this one, which is Petal Play. So this eyeshadow quad has a bunch of shimmery shades in it. I have used it a few times, so the top has been disturbed, but essentially there's just, I might swatch this as well, but essentially there's like 4 shimmery shades that are, look, some of them bronzy, some of them more champagne, and some of them are like pinky. So I'm going to play with this today, and I'm going to go sort of dewy cheeks, like I said. So I've got the Blush Bomb. This is in the shade Nectar. It's a nice orangey shade, which I love. I love orangey blushes. So we'll apply this. And I've also got the Day Glow Highlighter Glaze. This is in the shade Stunner. That's the shade. This is more of a balm. It's not something I normally go for. This is like a very, very translucent balm with a bit of shimmer in it. So it's not a cream. It's not a mousse, which I'm more comfortable with because I tend to settle better on oily skin. This is like a legitimate pan of gloss. Yeah, like a firm gloss, and it's got a little bit of iridescence to it, but it's very pretty. So it comes in 2 shades. I think I want to play with that. And then the last thing I'm going to put on is a bright lip. So to cover this stain, I've got Ruby Rouge. I might blot this down because it's quite dark. It's like this really dark, beautiful sort of raspberry color, but it can be sort of sheared out to look more like a, yeah, bright raspberry stain, and it does actually stain the lips, so it lasts really well. So that's what I'm going to be wearing today. All right, so I have put my skincare on. I'm just going to take a few pumps of this foundation on the back of my hand. I'm going to start, less is more. I've got a damp sponge. This is from Ella Cosmetics. I love, they're so soft and so bouncy and so lovely. This looks light, but just wait until I sort of blend it in. It's sort of, maybe it is too light for me these days. It was very good in winter. I actually don't know how this wears on me. This is going to be a weird thing. Maybe I'll have to check in later in the day. I've got a few sort of medical appointments and stuff to do today, so I'll be out and about and I might forget to check in. But when I was playing with this, when I first got it, which was a few months ago, I just never noticed how it wore. Like I sometimes I tell myself, yeah, pay attention to how this wears, and when you take it off at night, notice how it looks. But I think because it's fairly sheer, and it does actually match my colouring really nicely when it's blended in. I don't know if I noticed wearing very well. I don't think it wears like solidly on oily skin all day, but if you get a good colour match, which I feel like I've got, you don't really notice it wearing off. So I'm going to try to make more of a conscious attempt to see how this wears today, so I can report back on that. Again, it's going to be a warm day and I've got stuff to do, so I'll be out and about and running around and doing stuff and going to the park and blah, blah, blah. But in terms of, like, this is a luminous foundation, I've got oily skin. I feel like if you powder it well enough and you apply it, probably not on like really hot days where you're going to be sweating it off, I think this lasts fairly well on sort of oily combo skin, which is what I have. I don't have full oily skin. It's mainly my T-zone and my chin and around my nose that, which is part of my T-zone, that gets oily. So, but you can see it hasn't completely covered everything. There's some redness. I do look quite pale. Maybe it is a bit too light for me now. In winter it was great. I will bronze it up a little bit. But yeah, it sort of looks, it's glow to it. It's quite nice. I think it's a nice looking foundation and it's super affordable. I picked all this up, I think it was 50% off. And I think at the moment there's a Chemist Warehouse sale. So in Australia, you buy a Flower Beauty from Chemist Warehouse. I think currently there's a makeup sale. I'll have to check and annotate on the screen if it includes Flower Beauty. But it's pretty affordable, full priced, but then being stocked at Chemist Warehouse, they often have like all makeup 50% off. So I would recommend checking them out there because you just get a lot more bang for your buck, which is what I did. So yeah, in terms of foundations, it's in the Australian market, a nice affordable one. All right, I don't have the Flower Beauty concealer. I'm just going to go in with my Shiseido one that I'm project panning at the moment. I've like nearly finished this. I'm like really scraping the sides. I've got to get a makeup spatula and grab the product at the bottom. This is also a really nice shade match for me. So I'll just put this a little bit. I don't want to be too like heavy coverage today. I just want to be sort of like fresh and spring-like. So I'm just around the areas that I know wears off and I have like some redness peeking through. I'm just sort of dabbing some, but again, not much because I can't get it out, which is good. It means I've nearly finished. I have used the Flower Beauty concealer prior to buying these things. That was the only product I've tried from them because it was so highly recommended. I didn't repurchase it because I thought it was all right. I personally, on my skin anyway, didn't feel like it lived up to how well the Maybelline Fit Me concealer wears and applies and looks on me. So I was happy to use it up. I was happy to, give it a shot, but I didn't like it enough to repurchase it. But if you don't like to buy Maybelline, which I know a lot of people don't, which is totally fine, a lot of people do recommend the concealer in the range. I just didn't want to repurchase it because it wasn't really my jam. In terms of this, I'll powder after because I'm doing some cream products. In terms of this Blush Bomb product, one thing I've noticed, I love the color of it, but it is very, sort of blends out to not much. So you actually have to use quite a bit. It's this beautiful sort of apricot shade. I'm going to use a sponge as well to apply that, but you have to pick up quite a bit. Like it might look like it's quite pigmented and you're like, wow, that's pigmented. But as you sort of blend it in, it really does. Even if you use your finger or a brush, I just feel like it sort of disappears a little bit. Like that's a nice amount for me. I like that sort of color, but that took a lot. I don't even think I'm going to bronzer today. I think I'm just going to go heavy with the blush. So if you do it really, really sheerly, which is what I did when I first started using this, it sort of disappears to nothing. But if you do pack on a bit, it actually blends out really nicely. So I think the good thing about that is it means that you don't stuff it up too much. See, like I put a lot more on there and you can see it, but I put quite a lot there and it's there, but like I used everything on the back of my hand, on the brush, on the sponge. I might just try to remove a little bit from here just to even it out rather than adding too much more. But yeah, it's definitely one of those blushes that you can sort of go heavy-handed with and you don't really stuff it up too much, at least this color. Maybe if they've got darker colors, it's a different sort of situation, but I'm actually going with a little bit more, which is, I used a lot of this blush, but I love the tone of it. It does give a nice sort of dewy effect. I'm going to powder down some of this, maybe not the high points of my cheeks, because I find that the outer part of my face, I can definitely leave a little bit dewy because it's more normal skin, but the T-zone I'm going to have to powder the buggery out of. So there's that. I might turn the brightness down a bit so we can see the dewy effect. This is too dewy for me. Some people are like, that's what I want from my daily skin. If you've got dry skin and you have makeup that looks like this, you probably love it because throughout the day your skin's going to absorb it. I've got oily skin, so throughout the day my skin actually repels it and pushes it away. So yeah, I can appreciate the look of this. For me, it's like this makeup will be smearing off everywhere all day long until you have no makeup left on your face. So yeah, some people are like, stop, it looks great. For me, I'm like, no, I've got to powder it. It is what it is. But I'm going to go in with the highlighter. Again, this is sort of like a balm highlighter, and you can use your fingers. One thing I have noticed, I will use my fingers just to sort of apply it. It's very pretty, but I think on top of all this dewiness, it's like, you don't really see it too much. But one thing I have noticed with this highlighter, okay, it's very sheer. It's almost like a gloss with a very, very slight sort of iridescence to it. So it's not actually much color. It's more the gloss effect there. But one thing I have noticed is if you do apply it rushed, or if you do apply it with not the best lighting, you can actually notice that later in the day when you do have better lighting and you look at your face, you have like finger marks. So it actually does take a bit of blending seamlessly to get it looking good. Unless you want to use, of course, you can use a sponge or whatever. I'm just worried that if I apply too much, it's going to lift on itself. But it's very pretty. I might put a little bit more after I've powdered if I sort of have over powdered. But I feel like on me anyway, I've noticed that you got to be very good at blending it. Otherwise, you have like finger marks of balm luminosity, and then once it's sort of been on there for a while and you've got a set base, you can't really move it throughout the day. So I have had a few whoopsie-daisies with this. But if you do apply it nice and evenly, and especially on top of other cream products, so it works in a little bit more organically. Like there's been times where I've applied this over sort of a powdered base and it doesn't lift too badly if you're careful. But again, to get that sort of seamless blend, it really needs a lot of cream underneath it, in my opinion. All right, I don't have a powder, so I'm just going with my e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder in Light. This is a really nice loose powder. I like it because it does still, like it sets my oily skin, but it doesn't completely mattify it. Like it mattifies it, but there's a little bit of like a luminosity left. I think there's just a little bit of sheen in there that just gives it a bit of a glow. You can see instantly I'm taking away some of that glossiness, but I have to. It is what it is. So I really like this powder. I think it's a really nice setting powder if you want some glow to your skin, but you also have to set your base like I do. Especially under my eyes. I'm at an age now that if I don't set under my eyes, it just creases and moves around and the concealer just settles into the lines. So I do need to do a bit of setting. But I'm just going to loosely set around here so I have some luminosity left, but it's in the areas that I want it. So you can see that's still there. But everything else is sort of set, which is good. All right, zooming in a little bit more to do my eyes, I'm just using my Urban Decay Primer Potion, not because it's my favorite primer, but because I'm trying to use it up. So let's get some use out of it. All right, because I'm using a quad that has all shimmers, I'm actually going to go in with a MAC eyeshadow. This is Soft Brown, it's a matte. I'm just going to use that to sort of set the base a little bit and put something in the crease. You can definitely go in with like an all shimmer look. I would if I was in a rush and I had like 5 minutes to do my makeup, but I've got a little bit more time. So I'm going to make it look a little bit better. So yeah, just to sort of add a bit of shadow in there, set the base a little bit, add a bit of dimension to the eye. I might put this on the lower lash line as well. And just with a more pencil sort of brush just on the lower lash line. Not everyone needs to put anything on their lower lash line. I think firstly for me, suits my eye shape and also hides a little bit of that creasiness. Like I've got a little bit of gathering from the concealer powder mix. I don't know what's going on there, but it hides it a little bit. So let's embrace that. My lips look so painful, but it's just that the stain is in some areas and not others. All right, this is the quad close up. Now I'm going to swatch it because I'm curious. This is like an iridescent white pink situation, that white one there. This is the champagne shade, which I like. We've got another soft pink, which I've never actually used. So it's that one there. And then we've got this sort of bronzy color, which is the one I mainly use. What am I going to use today? Let's actually swatch them. So iridescent sort of white to pink sort of highlight shade, kind of subtle, but you can definitely build it up if you want to. That sort of got like yellow champagne shade, that soft pink, which I've never used. Maybe I'll use that today. And that bronzy shade that I am more inclined to use. So these aren't super pigmented. I keep wanting to reach for this one, but because I've used it a few times, I think I might actually use these two. I haven't used the pink shade, so we'll see how it goes. But I might put that on the outer, or I'll put it all over the lid, see how it goes. So you can see there's some iridescence going on, there's some brightness going on, which I like. I like a bit of brightness, but I don't like anything too frosty. And this is, it's quite sheer, so it's not sitting too frosty on the eye. But it's definitely not like a really pigmented eyeshadow, if that's what you're sort of after. I'm going to go in with some of that yellowy shade just in the inner corner, just to neutralize it a little bit, because I don't love pink eyeshadows, to be fair. Just on the lower lash really quickly. Look, is it impressive? No, it's not. It's very subtle. It's a very sort of, very subtle. I'm going to go in with that bronze. That's it. I'm going to try a few. So I'm going to pat that on, see if that adds it. I feel like they're all adding a similar effect. Because they all have the same sort of finish, and they all sort of are illuminating. Oh, I'm going to go with my finger. They sort of just all blend and look the same on the eye, just slightly different colors. I would say, yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend this quad to people. If you really wanted to play with it, like, you can make it work, but it's not anything super impressive. This one, Petal Play. Yeah, I've had it play a few times. It's just average. Because it is quite average, I'm going back in with the MAC Soft Brown and just sort of deepening it a little bit, adding a little bit more dimension, because I don't want my makeup looking absolute crap today. I don't need it looking amazing, but if I can salvage it a little bit by adding a bit more dimension to it, then I will. All right, I don't have a Flower Beauty mascara, but I want to go something a little bit more natural, because I don't want to use liner today. I want it to look sort of light and fresh and whatever. And so this Rimmel Kind and Free mascara is a good one because it is more subtle, but I feel like it looks nice. Like, it's sort of, the wand is really good. It sort of grips your lashes, and I feel like it really makes your lashes look quite fluttery. But it doesn't add too much product. So you can, like, I find when you do these sort of subtle looks, if you wear a mascara, like the one that I currently have in my Project Pan, which is a NARS one, it would just look clumpy on this look. I feel like if you don't have something on your lash line and you don't have much color on your lid, something a little bit more subtle can go a long way. And I feel like this is a really nice mascara for this sort of effect. So instantly that looks quite nice. Just taking a small amount of what's left over on my lower lashes, because I do like to define the lower lashes a bit. But again, you don't want to overload it and have really clumpy bottom lashes, especially if you've got a dewy base. I just feel like it's problematic. It's problematic. Yeah, so I like this mascara. It's not, I think if I was wearing bold makeup, I'd be like, this mascara is not showing up enough. It's not bold enough. It's not whatever. But I feel like on sort of minimal makeup, this is exactly what I need. So I always have a mascara that's sort of bold, but then also a mascara that's kind of subtle, because my lashes are annoying. They're kind of straight and they sort of like want to go down. Of course I could curl them, but I can't be bothered. Which I think a lot of people can't be bothered. And that is, I vibe you. Like, curling your lashes every day, no thank you. But this does lift them and at least keeps them up. So some sort of just encourage them to flop down. This one does sort of promote them to go up a little bit. So even though they're not nice and curled, they're noticeable. They're there, they're shaping the eye. Good. Good job, Rimmel. Now, I wouldn't recommend filling in your whole brows with a micro brow pencil. This is one from e.l.f., but because I'm trying to pan it, I'm just going to do that. So I'm trying to use it up. So again, I don't want anything too bold. So a micro brow pencil is good for sort of subtle. Look, it already looks bold. I'm going to brush it through. It's fine. It's good for sort of being restrained, But these are more recommended for if you've got patches in your brow somewhere and you just want to like put little hair flicks, or you want to like mimic hairs at the front. That's how these pencils are best used. But because I'm trying to use it up, I'm like, I can fill in my whole brows. I don't care. Yeah, I happened to accidentally order 2 of these, and I've got quite a few micro brow pencils. So this one is in the panning pile. And you can see that it looks quite bold. It's too much for this makeup. It might balance out a bit when I do the lip, but I'm just going to brush that through with a spoolie on the other end just to sort of soften it a little bit. Now for probably my favorite part of this whole look, and it's going to be the lip. This, again, it's Ruby Rouge. It's a cream formula and it is quite dark, but I am going to sort of blot this on. I might put it on full color so we can see it and I can decide, do I want it? And then I might blot it down if it's sort of too much, but it's a beautiful sort of raspberry red shade. Such a like gorgeous color. Like it's really saturated in pigment, but it's not so opaque. Like it's a transparent color, so you can sort of see the lips through it, but it's so pigmented that it looks bold and vibrant and gorgeous. I really love it, but I do want to blot this down and just show you what it's like a little bit more muted, because again, it's like early in the morning and I've got some really boring stuff to do today. So I might try to mute this down just a smidge. All right, just a bit of tissue. Did I just smear it on the bottom lip? Don't. So hopefully you can see if you do blot it down, you can get more of this sort of raspberry stain effect. I think it's really pretty. Also, it will be less sort of transferable because this is a cream. So, you know, it does transfer throughout the day. But because it's also a dark pink, it does stain throughout the day. So this will fade down to more of a stain. You might find that in the evening when you're having a shower, you'll have like pink left on your lips. I think it's really pretty. I think I want to put a little bit more color on it. I feel like I've taken a little bit too much off, but I'm not going to put it opaquely on or boldly on. I'm just going to dab a little bit to get a little bit more vibrancy back. All right, so this is my sort of quick, fresh, semi-dewy face for an oily skin person. Light, sort of subtle eye and fun, sort of vibrant lip look. It's a lot of words. So this is the kind of look that I use on a daily basis if I'm going out and the weather's nice and warm and I want to feel like I'm not wearing too much makeup, but I've got something fun going on that sort of, I think, lifts everything and sort of brightens your face. I love a bright, bold lip. Like I just feel like even if you had no eyeshadow on, just a bit of mascara, I just feel like a bright lip can really make you feel really fresh, and yeah, I love it. So this is a good example of what I sort of wear on a daily basis. All right, so this is about 10 hours wear. I've got a little bit of pink still on my lips. I've been putting lip balm over the top because I've got pretty dry lips today. In terms of foundation, this is just my phone camera, so it's not very clear, but I don't have a good lighting setup to show you anyway. It's definitely wearing off. Like a lot of it has worn off, but it's worn off quite evenly, and it's not looking super greasy. So even though it is, look, it's not my normal skin. It's like half of it has worn off, but because it's worn off sort of evenly everywhere, it sort of looks okay. Does that make sense? Sometimes when you have oily skin and you've got a more full coverage foundation, if it does start to wear off, it wears off in patches, and some areas look like skin, other areas look like foundation. It looks a bit patchy and weird. I think because this is worn off quite evenly, it looks quite flattering. So yeah, it's definitely worn off, but it doesn't get really, really oily. Like my forehead, I've not touched up my face at all. And yes, I've still got some sort of glow around certain areas, but it doesn't feel greasy and it's not sort of smearing off. So I think, yeah, this is a nice sort of lower coverage foundation that you still have something on by the end of the day, but it looks very, very natural. So that's what I'm going to say about the foundation wear. All right, with the highlighter, it's like there's a little bit of highlighter and there's a little bit of twinkle. The twinkle is actually fallout from my eyeshadow. The eyeshadow, besides just some rogue bits of sparkle, I can just see the matte left. So the eyeshadow is not good for longevity. At least this quad anyway is not good for longevity, and it just sort of flakes off my face. I could have just been wearing a matte eyeshadow today, to be honest. In terms of, so I can see a bit of highlighter, just very, very minor. It was sort of dewy throughout the day and made my skin feel really soft here, but it's sort of worn off almost completely. And I feel like, what is this spot? I don't even know what that is. I also think the blush is almost completely gone. And that's the sort of risk you run with cream products. They just don't have the longevity of powder products. So in terms of longevity, I think the most disappointing thing is probably the eyeshadow, because eyeshadow does wear on me, and I did use a primer. So there is no excuse for a shimmery eyeshadow to be raining down my face and migrating everywhere and then leaving what looks like just a matte in the crease. I just feel like these eyeshadows, at least this quad, is very disappointing. I think the best longevity was the lip product. So you can see a little bit of pink left. It sort of faded down nice and evenly throughout the day, and I'll just sort of top it up with a lip balm, and it just sort of went from bold to being like a more mid-toned pink with a bit of a balm, and then it's sort of fading down to like a soft pink. So after 10 hours wear without any touch-ups, besides applying lip balm, I think this is quite nice. It looks nice. It's not patchy. It's not, you know, smearing everywhere. It's performed well, and the foundation is just, it's all right because it's fading down evenly. Like I said before, it doesn't look like it's well worn, but it's definitely, there's a lot of skin showing through. So it is what it is, but I like it for a daily basis foundation. So yeah, it's a wear test at 10 hours and I'm going now to wash this off. But in terms of how I feel about these products, trying them for the past, like on and off for the past few months, I'm going to say I really like them. I think for the price point, they're a really nice quality product. I think the packaging is also really nice. There's nothing here that feels like really cheap and really horrible. They feel like they've put a bit of like love and effort and money into the packaging, which is good because sometimes you find more affordable makeup and it's like literal, like the plastic's going to crack anytime soon. You throw it in your handbag, it's going to crack. This actually feels like they've put design into it. They've put some effort into it. I really like the foundation. I think it applies nicely. It looks nice and sort of, yes, there's a glowy element to it. Like it's can be quite dewy if you don't set it. But if you do set it, like that's highlighter, but if you do set it, you get like a nice sort of natural effect. Not too much coverage, not too little. I think it's a really, really nice one. The cream blush I really like. This nectar tone is really beautiful. Like I love orange tone blushes. I feel like they just work really nicely on my skin tone. If I was to go pink, it'd look too vibrant, but this sort of, I've got color on there and I've got some dewiness, but it doesn't look like I'm wearing a lot of blush. My only thing about this is that you have to use quite a lot of it, so I feel like you can go through it fairly quickly, but it is quite easy to blend, and if you do over apply it, it's really easy to blend it out and look quite nice, at least this shade anyway, because it isn't too pigmented. It does sort of diffuse out. The first couple of times I applied this, I was being quite cautious with it and using the smallest amount, and I found that it really didn't do anything, so you can actually use quite a bit of this. I like the effect of this. Like, look, it's there, it's beautiful. It's not your typical sort of metallic highlighter. It is definitely a balm with a little bit of shimmer in it. So the pigmentation isn't bold highlighter strip. It is mainly a sheen from the balm, and it's just got a little bit of shimmer in it to back it up. So you're mainly getting the effect from the texture of it. So this is something that you wouldn't necessarily want to powder down or very, very lightly sort of avoid that area. It can sit on top of like set makeup, but it's just a little bit harder to blend out and get a more seamless effect. You're more inclined to sort of apply it with your fingers and then see sort of like finger marks or see the edges of where you've applied it if you apply it over a set base. So the way I did it today, where you put it over the cream products, the unset products, and then lightly powder it. If you need to powder your base, that's how I'd recommend using this. It does feel a little bit tacky because it's a balm. So, you know, it is what it is. If you have your hair out, it might stick to it a little bit, but it doesn't feel like too bad. If you keep it on the top points of your face, and you don't touch it too much, but it is a bit of a tacky, it's like it's a, what do you call it? They call it a glaze. I call it a gloss. Yeah, there you go. And then probably my least favorite and favorite thing, least favorite are the eyeshadows. Might just be the shades I used, but they can give a pretty effect. They're just nothing that I'd recommend. Even for the price point, even 50% off, I think, yeah, they're not the best. I have heard the other shades, like some people rave about the other sort of shades in the range. I sort of took a gamble with something that I don't already have and that I might find interesting. But I just feel like this is all sort of a bit bland. Can be pretty on the eye, but just a bit bland. My favorite things, lipsticks. Now, I had 2 of these. My kid got into the second one. Luckily, it was the one that I liked the least. This is the one I liked the most. I had a matte one that was a lighter pink, like still bright pink, but a lighter pink. I like this one more, so I was like, okay, he got into the right one. If he wanted to destroy it, fine, it is what it is. But I feel like the quality of the lipsticks are really top notch. If you're looking for an affordable lipstick, I think the Flower Beauty ones, what are these even called? Petal Pout lip colors. Great. They come in matte finishes and also cream finishes. And they do have a wide range of like nudes and berries and reds and all that kind of stuff. I do think the range is pretty typical. There's nothing in there that's like really exciting. I'd love like a vibrant orange. I would have bought that in a heartbeat, but it is like the standard shades that you'll see in like a lot of drugstore ranges. Pink nudes, some, brown nudes, some neutral nudes, and then it gets into like medium pinks, maybe a peach or 2, brighter pinks, reds, and a berry. So it's pretty standard, but if you're looking for a nice lipstick quality for a good price, these are great. This has slipped into my handbag many times. And when it's up against things like I've got YSL, I've got, Pat McGrath, I've got all these other sort of lipsticks that are quite expensive, when sometimes I will reach for this over those, it's a decent one. So I think my main recommendation from Flower Beauty, if you do want to try something, would be the lipsticks if you're a lipstick lover. I really do think they're worth the money. And even if I don't love all the other products, I think they're nice enough quality for me to be confident to not only recommend the brand, but also to try more from the brand. So yeah, Flower Beauty, I think they have some really nice stuff and you can get some really pretty effects using their makeup. So anyway, that's me getting ready and off to do some folding laundry and some doctor's appointments and some grocery shopping. So hooray, fun day planned for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.